Hello, everyone. Welcome into this week's episode of the Notre Dame Football Show from blueandgold.com. I am Ashton Pollard, your host, and I am joined, as always, by Mike Singer and Tim Hyde. How are we doing tonight?
Doing
Good?
excellent, thank you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm
Tim,
good.
it looks like you raised a drink there. What are you drinking?
Oh, always hold on, where's my camera here? Always a beer and a shot, and always in the Bolton Landing Brewing Company. Mike, we need to get some more sent out of
Did you
these.
say a beer
The
and a shot?
beer,
Yeah,
beer and a shot. Oh,
is the shot always there, or is that a new
There it
always,
is.
addition?
Okay.
Oh,
always,
okay.
always two tigers.
Okay. Well, I knew that when you were drinking liquor, it was usually two tigers, not tires. I'm not drinking, by the way. I just can't speak. But I didn't know that you always had both. So that's very exciting news. Mike, how about you?
um, so a couple weekends ago, I was in South Bend for Irish Invasion, and then my wife went out of town the day I got back for a few days, and then she came back into town for a couple days, and then she's been gone for several days. So my house looks like a total bachelor pad, except for I've already gone through all my drinks pretty much. So I don't even drink Sierra Mist, but this is I've got a Sierra Mist.
I
Um,
don't think I've seen a Sierra Mist in like 5 years. I mean,
yeah,
I guess I know it still exists, but I don't. It looks like the logo's changed. Interesting.
eh,
I don't know.
yeah. I don't know if
All
I've
right.
had one in 5 years either. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, as I said, I'm drinking water. I'm being lame, but
Cheers.
maybe,
Thank you,
maybe next
Josh.
time.
Yeah. Josh says
The
Tim's looking sharp. He
motivational
always
business
does.
banker.
I don't
That's quite the title you have there, Josh. All right. Before we get started, if you are joining us right now via YouTube, make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening back to this via podcasts, leave us a review. And then obviously throughout the show, as always, leave us comments, drop us a super chat if you want us to answer immediately. And then lastly, little housekeeping item, make sure that you sign up online. We still have our $1 deal going. That again, that won't be around forever, so make sure you get that. And then also our football preview magazine. We have the link up to that too. It's in a lot of our stories. Those links are typically together, so if you find one, you can find the other, and you should sign up for one and order the other one. All right. So we start today with our typical segment, Best Thing You Saw This Week. This is an opportunity for us to talk about anything related to Notre Dame. It can be football. It doesn't have to be football related. But Tim, I will start with your hilarious choice. Mike, pop it
Uh,
up on the screen for us.
yeah, having coached a thousand linemen in my days, this is without a doubt number one here. You got two class clowns basically coming from the South, enjoying their time in South Bend. And yeah, when this went up on Twitter, this was an instant classic. And I love the little how these two guys are going back and forth, poking fun of each other, cracking some jokes as well. So that is that's awesome. And by the way, I haven't seen Notre Dame in cowboy hats, and there's a bunch of the visitors had cowboy hats. So whoever busted out that prop, kudos. I thought it was pretty cool seeing some of the fellas in cowboy hats and all
I was
their
wondering
hype.
the same thing. It took me a second when I looked at this and I was like, is that Sam Pendleton and Sullivan Absher? And then I was like, where in the world did he get this hat?
All right.
But
Yeah.
I have
I
a
was really
question.
sorry.
What does Sullivan's shirt say? Board man gets paid.
It looks like it has a New Balance logo under it. I like zoomed in on this the other day too because I was curious. I did not initially know, and then to be completely honest, just forgot to look it up. But that is a New Balance logo, so I don't. Maybe it's some marketing campaign
Board man.
from
That
New
sounds like a
Balance.
basketball thing. I
Maybe
do like big. I like
Jumpman?
offensive linemen who play basketball. Right. I mean that's an
Fair.
awesome trait.
Yeah, no, I love this. So I love their banter back and forth on Twitter, and they banter with Monroe Freeling, the other Carolinian. He's South Carolina, they're North Carolina, but both Carolinas. Their banter back and forth on Twitter, trying to get Monroe to come to Notre Dame is quite funny. And we can maybe talk about that later. But Mike, what is the best thing that you saw this week?
All right. I say this so many times. For podcast audience, just stop listening on podcasts. Go watch us on YouTube. Find the time. It's great on YouTube. You get to watch all of our expressions, and when we play videos and stuff, it's a lot better than listening to it. Because you don't get pretty obvious. This right here. This is a tweet from Preston Zinter from last Friday morning. Let me set the stage for YouTube audience. Preston Zinter is on the dead middle of your screen, and Ronan Hannafin's got the red Reebok bag. Zinter is a Notre Dame linebacker commit, and Hannafin with the red bag, big 4-star athlete target for the Irish. Have you, Ashton, Tim, have you guys watched this? Yes. Obviously you have, Ashton.
Yeah.
You get,
yes.
Okay.
Several times.
This is a family-friendly show. Director of recruiting, Chad Bowden, maybe lets out an F-bomb, but, whatever. I
Honestly,
also hope...
you have to listen really close. I didn't hear it the first time, and then somebody put it on the board, and I was like, oh my God, you're right.
Oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have
egregious.
said that then. Just let that slip by. But, I mean, let's just play it. Let's just play it. There's Chad in the tie.
Good times, good times.
The fact that this is happening in the South Bend airport, like this isn't like
look at all those people by the luggage where you pick up your luggage. I mean,
right, exactly. Like if this was in the Goog, it would still be funny and exciting, but the fact that it is in a full-blown public place is even better. So,
guys, I love that so much. Like, I think a lot of folks who might be a little up there in age think that that's embarrassing or lame, or the fact that kids get haircuts during their Notre Dame visit.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Listen, Notre Dame fan, do you want the Fighting Irish to go win a national championship? Yeah. Well, of course.
Let the guy get a haircut.
This is the shit that they gotta do. They gotta be goofy and have fun with the kids. Sorry, Ashton?
I said so much for family friendly.
Sorry. No, yeah, you're right. But seriously, like they're not recruiting you, middle-aged white man. They're recruiting these kids. You already are a Notre Dame fan. They got to go get these big-time kids. Like, this is awesome. This was fantastic.
Some of the comments on the hair, you mentioned the haircut. I'm like, the guy's getting a haircut, big deal. It's like, I'll take a free haircut. I found that interesting. Let the 5-star running backs who have not come to Notre Dame in ages, let the guy get a free haircut. Enjoy it.
If you're not familiar with this saga, Richard Young, who is the 5-star running back to whom Tim is referring, was here and got a haircut, and that circulated on social media. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's funny. It mixes it up. To Mike's point, it's like, do you want to get these kids or not? If Chad Bowden has to dance in the South Bend airport to get Ronan Hannafin, okay, great. Sounds good. And I didn't even think it was like, I loved it from the start, but even if you didn't like it, in 3 years, if Notre Dame wins a title with Ronan Hannafin, you're not going to remember this video. You're going to remember the title. So keep that one in mind.
Boardman gets paid as a Kawhi Leonard reference.
There we go.
There you go. So
okay. I'm not an NBA person. That's why that went over my head. Anyways, okay. My best thing that I saw this week is actually baseball related. And we're going to talk more about the College World Series at the end here. But just briefly, I'll touch on Jack Finley is a freshman, as Mike has popped up here on the screen, a freshman left-handed pitcher from New Jersey. And he has been absolutely lights out for the entire postseason. He's a reliever. He has made a couple of starts, but he's come in relief entirely this postseason. He came in to set the stage, to borrow the term Mike used a minute ago. Notre Dame was playing Game 3 against Tennessee, who, if you are not aware, was the number one team in the country. Game 3 was Game 3 on Sunday. Notre Dame won Friday, Tennessee won Saturday, so this is a winner-take-all game on Sunday. Comes in, Notre Dame is down 3-1. And Finley pitches 5 innings of zero run, 1 hit, 4 strikeout baseball. This kid is a freshman, and he is facing the number one offense in the country. and completely shuts them out, gives Notre Dame the opportunity to pull ahead. Notre Dame ultimately won 7-3, and that is how we have ended up here with Notre Dame on their way to Omaha. They probably just got there, although I don't have the exact timeline, but they left a little earlier this afternoon, so they should be there. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Jack Finley, because if you're 18, 19, however old he is, he's a freshman, and you're able to come in arguably definitely the biggest game in 2 decades in Notre Dame baseball, arguably the biggest game in the history of Notre Dame baseball, to come in and pitch like that is astounding, and shout outs to him. And like I said, we will get into that a little bit more, the entire College World Series, and kind of talk about that a little bit later, but that was the best thing I saw this week. Yes, Mike.
I got to go a little, just a smidge off script here. So for those watching on YouTube, this is our front page. If you go to blueandgold.com, right, this is what you would see. So this is this article right now with this thing, this show we're doing, right? And there's the pretty YouTube video. Click here to order the 2022 Notre Dame football preview. You click this, and you go buy our magazine. This is our big summer magazine. Marcus Freeman stories, NIL breakdown and how it affects Notre Dame, features on a bunch of the players, opponent previews, recruiting content from yours truly. They got some good stuff in there. I mean, 160 pages, I believe it is. Got Mike Mayer on the cover. Go pick up a copy of this. It's fantastic. And it's a collector's item. So, I mean, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you need to have a copy of every Blue and Gold football preview. Tim does, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, right behind me.
Yep. And it's also
there you go, Tim.
Hold on. Right back there, right in that little corner right there is everyone since '86. So not too bad.
In addition to all those articles too, it's effectively like an encyclopedia. Like it has rosters, it has stats, it has playing time, it has lists of players, it has lists of players in the NFL, it has all of that. So yes, there were some very good features, and Mike obviously did a very good job highlighting all of those. But also, if you just want something to have in front of you while you watch the game as like a roster or anything like that, it has that too. So basically, it has everything.
We hired Patrick Engel. It was like March of 2020. And then obviously that summer was his first football preview he worked on. And then we hired Tyler Horka last summer. And then I think he got thrown into the fire football preview right away. And then we bring on Ashton Pollard earlier this year for your first football preview. How's that been going? What do you think about your it's quite the animal the football preview is to write about. Yeah.
You know, I've written a lot of words, and I have done few social activities in the recent weeks. I've spent a lot of time in my apartment. We'll summarize it like that. But I've learned a lot, and I've written a lot of good stuff that you should buy and ultimately read too.
Every once in a while I'll see a random tweet from Ashton Pollard about some Notre Dame opponent. Oh, this Syracuse running back is really good. I'm like, oh, that's Ashton writing a preview article for the magazine.
Yep.
Sure.
I'm very high on the Syracuse linebackers. Buy the preview magazine to learn more about that. All right. On to the rest of our show today. So it remains recruiting season. Notre Dame had a ton of recruits last weekend on campus. They have another big weekend coming up this weekend. We are going to primarily look forward at who is on their way in the next couple of days. So I will basically, without further ado, pass it over to Tim, who is going to highlight 3 of his favorites, and we're going to watch that film, and then Mike is going to give his take on where the recruitment stands with what he knows having covered recruiting. So, Tim, who do you want to start with? Give me one of your 3.
Skill guys. Great House. He was the first one I thought of. I went with Great House. Love's going to be there.
Hey, one at a time there, Tim.
There you go. Great House.
Tim, don't give it all away. They'll all leave. Don't leave. Whatever you do.
I mean, Jaden Greathouse, it's awesome. He's going to be coming in there, and he's obviously a big time wide receiver from one of the premier high schools out of Texas. So you go get a second Texan out of there, which would be huge for Freeman and Coach Stuckey.
What do you think about his tape, Tim?
He's not. I mean, he's a nice. He's such a good route runner, such a good football player. I mean, look at that play right there. It's he's big time because he's coming from a big time high school football program. He's well coached. He's got ton of fundamentals already instilled in him. Look at that play right there. He's the guy that's going to have to come in and play right away, as this entire class is. And I think he is a guy that you don't need to sit around and wait on for a couple of years to get ready. He looks the part that could come in and do some damage right away as a freshman. That's a heck of a catch.
Yeah, he is. He's the prototypical boundary receiver, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's listed at 6'2", 220. He goes up and gets the ball. Great in one-on-one coverage. Jaden Greathouse is an impressive prospect.
Yeah, and the other thing, you put him with James, and obviously they had Rico Flores last week, and you got three guys that are all ranked in the top 175 in the country, which is huge for Notre Dame. It'd definitely be one of the top three wide receiver groupings to come to Notre Dame in ages. So he's a heck of a football player, a guy that could come in and do some things instantly for ND.
Yeah, as far as where his recruitment stands, about 6 weeks or so ago, I put in a prediction for him to land at Notre Dame. And, those predictions are just that. It's a prediction, and I'm not feeling as confident. I still believe that the Irish have the lead, but anytime you're following a recruitment and there's a big shift, that's typically not a good thing for the team in the lead, unless it's something like a kid, say he's favoring Notre Dame and he says, I'm going to commit in 4 months, and then he moves his timeline up to tomorrow. That typically would be a good thing. But for this one, I don't know. It seemed like he was going to commit this summer, and now the vibe is that he's going to push his process back a little bit. And if you're leading for a recruit and then he pushes his timeline back, it gives more opportunity for other schools to make their move. So that's why I'm kind of not as confident. But again, he's visiting this weekend. Let's see what happens. Comes in, falls in love with Notre Dame, and yeah, it could be really good. So this will be a second time on campus. He also was in town for the Blue Gold game, and we know Notre Dame's woes at receiver. I think that they're going to end up with 4 in this class. Might be 3, but I think 3 to 4 is the range, and they would certainly love to have Jaden Greathouse in this class.
Who do you see as the biggest competition for him?
Well, I think it's a Final Four of Notre Dame, Texas, Oklahoma, and South Carolina. I think last weekend he was at South Carolina, and then the first weekend of June was OU, and then it's Texas next weekend. Obviously, Notre Dame this weekend. I mean, Texas, he's been there, probably a dozen times, in his life growing up in Austin, so I would probably lean Texas if it's not Notre Dame. But again, if I had to pick again right now, I still would think it'll be Notre Dame. But again, not as confident.
Now,
that's what
Mike, didn't he have a date set, or is he's pushed that back now, or did he not have a date officially? I'm thinking of Christian Gray and Flores have dates.
Yeah, I don't think he had a date.
Gotcha.
I'll get the correct staff taking a peek at that.
Yeah, I don't think he did either.
Okay.
Flores, I think I initially in my head thought Flores, and then was like, oh, July 3rd, and then was like, wait, never mind, it's not.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's got a date.
Yeah. So he's got 4 officials done next week, and he's going to wait till the fall. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. Tim, prospect number 2, who you got?
Well, let's stay in the great state of Texas, and Notre Dame needs corners. I know me and Mike have talked about this recently, and this dude is faster than fast, and he would be a special team guy on day one, no doubt about it, with his speed. But the fact that he's almost like a Jaden Mickey type of guy, nickel corner, play on the slot, tough as could be. I think this kid's tough as could be.
It says
If he had
him at running back.
oh my God, his offensive film is, I mean, look at this. I mean, he would be a slot in a heartbeat. You want to talk about running jet sweeps, motions, quick bubbles. This guy, because they really don't have any wide receivers that could catch a bubble like this guy. He's electric. So special team, heck of a football player right there. And obviously they're recruiting him as a corner. And he looks like his film is legit. He's a good football player. His speed, some of his numbers he did in the spring were just like big time. I mean, when you're running 10 threes and 10 fours, that is fast for a high school track guy. I think he ran a 10-3, if I remember right, seeing. So that is fast.
To your point about special teams, Brian Mason, the new special teams coordinator, and I'm not telling you this, you probably know this, but just for the masses, Brian Mason, the new special teams coordinator, is really high on Jaden Mickey to punt return this fall. So
really,
if that ends up happening, then that's a good signal that he's not afraid to use true freshmen right when they come in as primary punt returners. Yeah, it's Mickey, Joseph, Salerno, and I'm blanking on the last one.
I mean, look at the speed right there.
Price. That's another true freshman. Price. But yeah. What do you say, Tim?
No, it's sitting here. It's almost like, I mean, you're like watching Tecmo Bowl. He gets the ball. This guy's breaking 75 yards. He is so fast, and he is. That was the first guy I thought about was Jaden Mickey. I love Mickey. Corona Centennial, one of the premier public schools in all of California. Just tough as nails, smaller in stature, just plays with the pit bull mentality. When you watch Bell, that's the first guy I thought about. Look at this. I mean, he's so quick. He would be a huge, huge get out of the obviously Big 12 country, especially out of state.
Big punt. Oh,
he's
wow.
Just the speed aspect. When you talk special teams, being a Texas guy, I know on the message board when he got offered, we talked about Allen Rossum, who was a big time return man in the NFL for a decade as well. So out of Texas, so he instantly reminded, because he was small of stature as well and played 4 years at corner during the Holtz years. But he's a good one, and the guys they're getting out of Texas are no joke this season if they land these guys.
Have we even?
Yeah, Peyton Bowen. Speaking of, sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of fast guys out of Texas, Peyton Bowen today, I forget the exact outlet, but it popped in my Twitter that he was voted like the fifth fastest kid in the 2023 class or something like that by some outlet. Mike, did you see this?
No, but
okay, I forget who it was, but I mean, if you get Bell and Bowen in this class, obviously to say that both fast backs. That's a pretty quick secondary that you have there, and you kept him out of or you pulled him out of Texas, I guess, which is gonna ultimately be SEC country entirely, is already partially SEC country. But yeah. Any thoughts on where his recruitment stands, Mike?
I was just looking up on my phone to confirm, because I'm like 90% sure he told me he's taking an Ole Miss official visit. I want to say it was supposed to be this past weekend, but didn't see anything on his socials about it. So I don't know. Everything I hear is very positive for Notre Dame, and okay. I think they're gonna land him. His date is July 1st, and he announced a top 10 recently. It's typically a kid who's about to commit in a few weeks would narrow it down to 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. But hey, kid can do whatever he wants. So he announced his 10. Yeah. I think there was a couple Ivy League schools on there, if I'm not mistaken.
Harvard. Yeah,
Harvard was on there.
It's Harvard, and then you have the Power 5 grouping that's borderline Ivy. So Notre Dame, Stanford, Vandy, Duke. And then it was like Baylor or Ole Miss. No disrespect to those schools, but
I got it pulled up. Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
I don't even see Ole Miss on
here. And then Harvard was plastered right in the middle there, and I was like, that's an interesting one. Huh. But hey, I don't know. To each his own.
Yeah, I don't even see Ole Miss on there, so I'm guessing that is not.
Was it not Ole Miss? I don't know. Yeah, there were a ton of them. There was a clear
Baylor, Michigan State, Harvard, Duke, Stanford. I guess this V is Vanderbilt.
Yeah, it is.
Tennessee, Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Notre Dame for them, and I don't know who is second. I think the Fighting Irish might be second, and then Marcus Freeman team's third, and then the school Mike Singer covers is fourth. I don't know.
Good.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's I hadn't watched his junior tape. I'd only seen a sophomore film. That was really impressive. I mean,
He's
wow.
fast.
He is fast. So that is a player you just want on your football team. So
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
All right, before
uno más.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was going to say
After.
Okay. Before we move into the last one, if you have joined us recently, make sure that you hit the thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Drop us a super chat. A lot of you are dropping comments. We're actually going to try to get to several comments at the end here, but nothing scrolling through right now. I think Michael Dudley asked, do Notre Dame coaches fly on private planes when recruiting? Freeman does. Do all of them?
No. That would be sweet. Not that type of budget, but yeah,
I didn't want to.
Yeah, some folks you might get lucky and see a Notre Dame coach on a Delta or Southwest flight or something, but I think once during the spring eval period, it's near the end, Reese, Parker, Stuckey, and maybe like an Al Washington or something like that. They were in the Tampa, Florida area. It was a Keon Keeley, a Darius Hayes, Bredell Richardson, some kind of swing in the Tampa area where they did get a private jet, but otherwise, yeah. Freeman, when Freeman's on the road recruiting, man, car service, right? They don't rent a car; they get car service. I don't know if it's every single time, but like I mean, I talked to a lot of high school coaches and stuff, and I don't know if this is something that all schools do, like car service or whatever. But yeah, dude had a driver. So yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
I mean, there's the infamous story that he left his intro press conference to get on a plane, and that was a private plane because there are plenty of pictures.
And Tyler Horka was there.
Yes, he was.
You remember? Yeah, Tyler Horka was there.
He was.
That was quite the reporting there by him.
All right, we can go back quickly to Tim's third pick. Tim, who's the final official visitor you're excited about?
Oh God, yeah, Jeremiah Love, Mike's been following his recruitment, one of the fastest risers in the country. I think when he first got offered, or Mike and I chatted with him, he was like 350 in the country, and now he's 66, top 5 running back. This guy is blown up, and it's film. His track season was just freakish. Comes from a big time, obviously really good high school football program. And he's an SEC football player. I mean, look at those offers. Like outside of number 2, look at the number 3 and 4 schools right there. And you got always a dig on Michigan. Sorry for the Wolverine fans if you're watching, all 0 of you.
I don't think we have many.
Exactly. But no, he is. It's going back to I've just been doing a lot of research on Notre Dame in this class. That if it happens and it falls to where it could be, it's a generational type class, and it's some of these players are getting. I mean, you're getting Jeremiah Love. I mean, Notre Dame's signed 3 top 100 running backs, and it just blows my during the Kelly years. Dexter Williams, Greg Bryant, who didn't play much, obviously, and then you have Chris Tyree, who's still there. Folston was 100 in that class, so you have 4. But and for a team that pounds the ball and your O-line and all, it just has always blown my mind how they just can't get elite running backs to go against these NFL offensive lines. And Love is fast. He's fast and he's faster. I mean, his speed is freakish. He is just he's an SEC running back. And for Notre Dame to have a shot at him, obviously, Mike could talk about the young man who's on campus currently. I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome what they're recruiting right now at running back.
This guy is a freak show. Yeah. I mean, he was a 3-star according to both sides. On3 had him as a top. On3 was an outlier for a while. All the other sites kind of caught up, having him as a top 100 player. Or around top 100 player, I should say. And, this guy. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is in slow-mo on purpose or if my computer's just slowing down, but I kind of like it being in slow. Okay, no, that was on purpose. That's how they edited the video. He's a special player. Yeah. I mean, I don't like the running back they have committed right now, Jaden Lamar. He's a really good talent. I don't know if I'd call him elite. His tape and the competition, the offense is just kind of quirky to me. I want to see more of him before I would call him like an elite back. Again, a lot of it due to just the offense and the competition. They run a really weird offense at Lake Stevens. Jeremiah Love, though, I mean, goodness gracious, this dude is special. And then Notre Dame's got Richard Young on campus, the 5-star running back out of Florida. I mean, we'll see the reports I get following Richard Young's official visit, but I think it's probably a long shot. I do not think it's a long shot for Notre Dame to land Jeremiah Love. The last I heard was that the Irish were a slight favorite. He's got Alabama, Michigan. Let's take a look at his other visits he's taken this month.
He's got the SEC.
Yeah, A&M. He took so it was A&M June 3rd, Michigan last weekend, Notre Dame this weekend, Bama at the end of the month. I mean, that's not a bad top four. On 3 recruiting prediction machine, everyone's favorite tool to follow recruiting, has the Irish with a very slight lead over Michigan. So I think this is his second time on campus. And I was actually just texting Jeremiah just a few minutes ago, actually, and setting up an interview for post visit. Yeah, he's. I don't know how many more times I can say he's a freak show. Talented player.
Right here in the comments, yeah. Richard Schmidt says it perfect. He looks like a pinball machine. Yeah, some of that film where he's just bouncing off of dudes and cutting his. I mean, he's elite. He's an elite running back. There's no doubt about that.
I do not disagree. All right, moving on to our next segment. Again, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you're listening back via podcast. To Mike's point earlier, don't do that. You should watch us on YouTube. But if you are, leave us a review. So this was brought up. It's one of the comments at the beginning. Someone asked about the Ohio State drama. So we're going to briefly dive into this, and I'll give the backstory. I guess I'll kind of start from the beginning. I don't want to spend like 3 hours recapping it because it is a little bit of a longer saga. But as you all are aware, Marcus Freeman went to Ohio State, played linebacker at Ohio State, and he did an interview with Dennis Dodd that largely started circulating yesterday. I don't know exactly when you took place, but this entered the public realm, went viral yesterday. So basically what happened was Freeman gave several quotes to Dennis Dodd, and the way that Dodd wrote them, apparently Freeman says that they were taken out of context. So I'm going to start by reading what Dodd said Freeman said, and then we can talk about Freeman's rebuttal, but I'll briefly read this. This is the Marcus Freeman quote that was in Dodd's piece. "I'm not saying from top to bottom, but the majority of our kids, and I want to say this the right way, are pushed to learn and their study habits are formulated every day. You can't cheat academics at Notre Dame." And then he turned to Ohio State and he said, "If you don't go to class at places like that, Ohio State and Cincinnati, his previous 2 coaching stops, okay, you take some online classes, show up for your appointments. At Notre Dame, you're forced every day to go to class." So people took that as him taking a job at Ohio State's academics, which again, he went there. So do with that what you will. But as a rebuttal, Freeman reached out to a radio show in Columbus, and he said this. He said that he's the one that reached out and tried to set the record straight this morning. So that was the story that Mike had popped up there on the screen. I have it in front of me. I'll read kind of part of Freeman's rebuttal back. So he said, "Keywords and context were missing from the quote that upset a lot of people that I care about. I'm very proud of my 2 degrees from Ohio State. I would never disqualify the quality of education those degrees represent. I was specifically talking about the academic rigors of Notre Dame." So he said, "Here's exactly what I said." This is the quote that he said. And again, sorry, I know this is a lot of words, but I don't want to take something that was taken out of context, apparently out of context again. And he says his quote was, "Their study habits are formulated every day. You can't cheat academics at Notre Dame. If I didn't go to class at Ohio State, 60,000 students, Cincinnati, another big public school, there are 40,000 students. If you don't go to class, okay, take some online classes, show up at your final. At Notre Dame, you're forced to go to class every day, but it formulates this learning capacity." So as you can see, and if you want to go read these back, they're all over the internet. You can check them out on blueandgold.com. There's a bit of a discrepancy between the two. And yeah, Mike pops up. Patrick Engel from Blue and Gold put up his entire quote, so you can read it there too. But I guess my initial take on this is kind of, if I'm advising Freeman on how to handle these situations in the future, I guess I would say what he's saying is not incorrect. It is very difficult to fly under the radar at Notre Dame, given it's so much smaller. As far as the Ohio State academics goes, I'm not going to personally comment on it, other than there are certain former Ohio State players who have openly said exactly what Marcus Freeman said. So is he right? Is he wrong? I don't really know. My take is I would advise him not to name specific schools in the future, because what can be taken out of context will be taken out of context. And I don't think he meant any harm by this. And I think the fact that he reached out to a Columbus radio station and said, "Hey, I want to come on and talk about this," signals that he didn't mean any harm. But again, that being said, like, if you're gonna name certain schools, somebody's gonna take that the wrong way. I don't know. Tim, do you have thoughts? Do you agree, disagree? What did you think?
I agree with what you just said. It's like, don't, and hey, that's the coach in me. As soon as I saw this thing, instantly, I'll be honest, I was like, don't give those Buckeyes more cannon fodder. Not that they need it. People like, oh, it's bulletin board. Ohio State's gonna be fired up for the football game. If Freeman never did this interview with Dennis Dodd, who cares? Buckeyes are going to be hyped beyond belief for this football game. But that was my first thing, was like, don't go there with academics. That's just me. It's like Notre Dame's, don't be Captain Obvious, I guess. Everyone knows Notre Dame is good academics, solid academics compared to some of these, programs out there. That's why I always laugh when Saban says we need parity. We should all be uniform. You're not Saban. So, get off your high horse when you talk academics. But, that was my first take. And I read the article. It's Dennis Dodd. I mean, all you have to do, it's funny. I actually Googled Dennis Dodd. I know he's been a national writer forever. And the first thing that popped up, which I kind of laughed at, is perfect Dennis Dodd, is 2015. He says Notre Dame's irrelevant. They should not be an independent, join a conference. This is 2015. They go on to go to the Fiesta Bowl that year, just a couple of years from playing for a national title. So, it is what it is. It was, it's quite interesting how some of this stuff is blown out of proportion, but I don't know. I'm with you. Don't, the fact that he had to call, and I heard it was his buddy, who's the radio host down there, that he called that shit
I forget
with.
his name.
But you know what? He's calling because that's where he went to school. He's an Ohio guy. I mean, how many times have you heard him talk about his dad's love for Ohio State? And he's a Buckeye. He was a captain. He got drafted, all that good stuff. So he's calling there to let people know in Columbus, hey, I love you guys. I'm at ND, meant no harm. That's the way I took it. And one last thing about Dennis Dodd. In the article, he calls Marcus Freeman a defensive back. Well, Marcus Freeman never played DB. So that tells you about his journalism major there, Mr. Dennis Dodd.
Yikes. It's not like Freeman's been doing a media, bunch of interviews. I think he will be here soon. It's not like he's on the exclusive interview circuit right now. Dodd gets one and then misquotes him and then calls him a DB. I'm sorry,
Yes.
Calls him a defensive back. Sorry, that could also be taken out of context.
Yeah.
Nice save. Nice save.
I do have a couple thoughts. I do have a couple quick thoughts. First, we do have a super chat, so we can sound the alarms real quick. Appreciate it, Peter. Peter says, with a name like Ronan Hannafin, he should have been in this class months ago. Why the hesitation? Ronan Hannafin, 4-star athlete receiver from Massachusetts, was just on campus this past weekend. I've liked the Fighting Irish to land him for several months now, and I think the Irish are in pretty good spot for him, and he will visit Bama this weekend, and I don't know what's after that, but I get my spidey sense tells me that his recruitment's nearing its end, and I still do like Notre Dame, but he's going to Bama, so who knows. So 2 thoughts on this Ohio State thing. My take was kind of like what Tim said at the end there. He wouldn't be doing this if it were, maybe a possible read in between the lines comment about like a Michigan or Nebraska. It's Ohio State. He loves that place. It's his alma mater. He's not calling in. if he made a comment about like Nebraska, he's not calling into the Omaha, Omaha radio station and be like, hey, I just want to let you guys know this is not what I meant. They'd be like, no, screw you, dude. He is a Buckeye. So that's that was my first take. Is like that's why he wanted to make sure that these comments were very, he made it clear to his people in Columbus. Second thing was, I got this tweet up on the screen here. You see that little blue check mark next to Patrick Angle? I used to have that. And then I changed my Twitter. And then I lost it. This is about 3-4 years ago.
Is this related to the Ohio State saga?
No, but it pisses me off. I request this every single month to get verified on Twitter. Dude, sometimes Twitter like super denies me. And they're like, I feel like I just request it and then 30 seconds later I get denied. I got denied yesterday again. I think my account's like flagged for something. I was trying to take the @MikeSinger Twitter account, so I was reporting. And that guy hadn't been on Twitter for like 7 years. He hadn't done anything, so I kept reporting his account and and I think Twitter got mad at me for that, so they don't want to verify me.
Things are changing at Twitter.
If there are any like big wigs at Twitter who are watching this, so we get a bunch of like brewery owners who watch our shows and they send us beer all the time. So we have any like CEOs at Twitter, and you went to Notre Dame and you're watching this? Come on.
Yeah, if we have any CEOs, there's one CEO at Twitter, and he did not go to Notre Dame.
Just like big people. Look, let me pop it on. There I am. That's Mike. Me. It's my sweet wife. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I'll save you here and say I might know why. There's a little nuance that we don't have to get into here that has to do with something that I might have figured out why, because I'm in the same boat and cannot get verified. I've submitted it multiple times, and sometimes they've gone like 12 hours before denying me, and I get really excited. And then they ultimately deny me. Also, if you get denied Twitter verification, they don't tell you why, which is really frustrating. Anyways. I love that Mike said
also Twitter CEO. Here you go. Verify her. She's great.
Thank you. I like that Mike's like, I have 2 thoughts on Ohio State. The second one has nothing to do with Ohio State.
Hey, I'm always good for one rant. I guess I started off the show with a rant about the Chad Bowden thing. There was another rant that I was going to do earlier about Dante Moore, but I decided not to.
No, we don't have time. We don't have time. Mike, if you guys are wondering, Mike doesn't know when Dante Moore is going to commit because nobody knows. So that's a question we get literally every day, and we don't know. So switching gears to baseball here. So we talked about this at the top a little bit when I was talking about Jack Finley. If you are unaware, which I don't know how you are, but Notre Dame made their 3rd College World Series in program history. It's 1957, 2002, and 2022. They did so by beating Tennessee in a 3-game series last weekend. They won Friday, Tennessee won Saturday, and Notre Dame won the winner-take-all game on Sunday. So we're just kind of going to kind of do like a brief little overview of how we got here, things of that nature. And I know there are a lot of questions on baseball and how this works. So if you guys have questions, drop them in the side and we can answer them. But yeah, I guess I'll give the brief overview of what's ahead. So they'll play Texas on Friday, as Mike popped up here, 7:00 on ESPN. So if you have cable, you have no reason not to watch. This isn't on some obscure like streaming service. It is literally on ESPN in primetime. The way that this works is there are 8 teams that make the College World Series. So there are 2 sides of an 8-team bracket, 4 teams on each side. Notre Dame's pool is them, Texas, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma, which is a hilarious pool when you think about the fact that Notre Dame is in there with those guys. And they do essentially pool play like they did in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So it's double elimination. So you have to get through the weekend without 2 losses. Once you get 2 losses, you are out. Yeah, there you go. You can pull it up. It gets a little wonky with TV schedules and stuff, but effectively Notre Dame will play Friday. They will then play again on Sunday. That time is dependent upon who wins Friday. It is either 2 or 6. So I can turn it over to Tim. Tim, if you would like to just comment on the season. I know you had some stats that you pulled up. researched.
Well, what I love is just the bracket. You got Big Oil versus the Mendoza School of Business, basically in this 4 bracket. It's no, it's awesome. I mean, I obviously followed ND for a long time, but I watched the first game. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I mean, would they hit 5 home runs in the first game? And
Yeah, four, but yeah, same idea.
yeah,
Same
and
idea.
they smashed the ball, Tennessee, and for them to beat it, and then Tennessee came back the next day and just powered the heck out of the ball. It was a huge upset. I
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was getting some feedback there. Sorry, guys. Am I getting any feedback?
Might be. I don't know.
I can take over for a second if you
I
want.
think it might be from Ashton's computer.
Why? I hate this. All right, Tim, talk. I'll mute
No,
myself.
but no, just some of the stats, that I saw real quick, which is just it blew me away because that Tennessee team. I know you could talk more about this. Ashton was obviously considered one of the greatest college baseball teams ever. But Notre Dame going
Holy
into that
crap!
series,
It is hailing at my house right now. I can see hail. This is crazy. I'm sorry.
Was 1-7. Notre Dame baseball was 1-7 versus the top 16 teams and goes to College World Series. Tennessee, which I found this amazing, was 25-5 versus the ACC this year. And I was just like, are you kidding me? And then this was my favorite stat, just going over a bunch of these numbers, how it's just wild. Tennessee had 82 more home runs than Notre Dame going into that series. And Notre Dame out-hit them, which who would have ever thought that in a million years? But I'm a huge Red Sox fan. So as soon as that guy threw that pitch, and the catcher, you could talk more. I mean, I don't know none of the players. I know the 2 really good pitchers they have. But for a guy to come up, and what were they, 7 outs away from going home, guy with 1 home run ties it. I'm a Red Sox fan. I instantly thought back to 2003 when Grady Little left in Pedro Martinez 1 pitch too long in the Yankee series, and I'm sure that Tennessee coach I'm sure he's thinking that as well because their pitcher was dominant. And did he leave him in just 1 pitch too long? Because after that, just barn doors went off. And hey, Notre Dame's doing the same thing they did 20 years ago. I know you and Tyler wrote about this literally to the day. 20 years they beat number 1 Florida State, and then 20 years later to beat number 1 Tennessee is just, it's awesome for Notre Dame baseball. And I've been to Omaha. It's a beautiful city. It's an unbelievable atmosphere and an unbelievable ballpark. So it's a great experience. I mean, that's where you want to go when you play baseball. The goal is to get to Omaha, and just making it to the College World Series is you're a national champ already. I think it's pretty awesome.
I can't believe it's hail. I got hailstorm at my house right now.
Georgia.
Like, man, this is really loud rain. And then I look outside and like, oh, there's a bunch of golf balls raining from the sky. I don't know if I've ever seen hail here. So
What? Really? Interesting.
It's not something. No.
Okay.
Don't get hail in Atlanta. But I guess
I don't know.
do in June.
I don't know if there's any feedback now. You can stop me if there is. But
No,
I was just gonna add back to Tim. Then you brought up the David LaManna, who was the catcher who hit the home run to tie it, and then Jack Brannigan, the third baseman, added on, which gave Notre Dame the 4-3 lead. They won 7-3. They added a few more runs, but those were back-to-back home runs and gave Notre Dame the lead. So to Tim's point, LaManna, like kind of the rest of the team, the story this year has been they don't have the power that they had last year. And Nico Cavadas, who was their massive power hitter who shattered Notre Dame home run records, but they're very consistent top to bottom. So Link Jarrett's been talking about this pretty much all year, that he doesn't want opposing pitchers to be able to like come up to breathe. Like, it's one thing to have really hot 2, 3, 4, 5 hitters, but then if you get the bottom of the lineup and you can take care of them, you're going to have a really hard time beating a team like Tennessee. With Notre Dame, they don't have that one guy, but everybody can hit. Like, LaManna led the team in batting average and is not a big power hitter, but came up there clutch at the end there. So someone just asked, is it single elimination? It's double elimination for the first round. Yes. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's, Tim, kind of, you touched on a lot of the storylines of the season. It's getting back to Omaha for the first time in 20 years. We talked with Link Jarrett, the head coach, today, and Paul Manieri, who was the head coach last time, who ultimately left and went to LSU. He's going to be there look out on blueandgold.com for a story that Tyler might be doing with him that could be really cool. But it's very full circle, I think, because these guys on the team right now met the 2002 team. They came up for an anniversary a few months ago. They talked with them about how cool it was to make Omaha, especially after last year when Notre Dame nearly made Omaha. So I think it's very full circle for a lot of these guys, especially because the team is so old. It's a lot of seniors. I think it was 16 seniors or grad students were honored on degree day, which is Notre Dame's like senior day equivalent, basically. So I'm rambling a bit, but point being, they're really excited. This doesn't happen often for Notre Dame, and it should be interesting, especially with the number of big names. So in addition to Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma, the other side is Ole Miss, Arkansas, Auburn, and
Stanford.
Stanford. Thank you. So it's Notre Dame and Stanford versus the South, effectively. So that starts Friday night on ESPN, and they'll play again Sunday. Again, what time they play, whether it's 2 or 6, is dependent upon whether or not they win on Friday. We can wrap up baseball talk there, and we can take a couple questions, unless Tim, you have anything else?
Oh no, I was just going to say off of that, Ashton, because how improbable it is the catcher's been there 5 years. He had 7 home runs. So the guy averages basically 1 home run a year, and he hits the game tying shot against the greatest college baseball team ever. So it's just, it was, I was sitting there with my kids. We had it on, and when he hit, I was like, oh my God, they're going to the College World Series, guys. My kids were getting hyped up. So, and because they thought the game was over and then you could watch another show. So that's what they're more excited about.
All right, let's go rapid fire for Ashton.
Okay.
John says co-MVPs for Sunday's game was the Notre Dame's pitcher and catcher. Do you agree?
So Finley and Lamanna. For Sunday, yes. I think an offensive MVP for the entire weekend was Jack Siska, who went. I'm reciting this off the top of my head, so don't quote me on this. I think it was 8 for 13 with 2 home runs and 4 or 5 RBIs. He went 4 for 4 Saturday. Notre Dame got killed on Saturday, 14-5, but Siska went 4 for 4. I think Sunday, I agree with that, but entire series, I would go Jack Siska.
Can Notre Dame keep Link Jarrett at Notre Dame?
No, is my initial take. No, I don't think. I mean, so the Clemson job opened. That was the first. Sorry, I'll walk it back a second. So typically, if you're unfamiliar with college baseball, the South is so dominant. It's not even funny. And it's not even like the SEC. And then you have like the Big Ten, who's kind of right there. They have some good teams and some good talent. It's like the South and everybody else, with tiny little exceptions. So the Clemson job opened. Everyone thought Link Jarrett might go there. They took Michigan's coach. So that job is closed. But the bigger issue now is Florida State fired their head coach, Mike Martin Jr. Why is that an issue, you ask? Well, because Link Jarrett went to Florida State and is from Tallahassee. So not only do you have the big Southern baseball draw that Florida State is a step up in baseball. This is not like football where you could argue those are similar programs not now, but similar programs in terms of like history, money, investment, fan base, whatever. Right. This would be a massive step up. If you asked me today, I would say I think that he's going, but I have not asked him about it. So no, I don't think so.
And last, not so much a question, but a comment. Shout out to Golden Tate. First baseball game since leaving the NFL. First at bat, had a double RBI, 2 for 4. Double RBI, stolen base. So yeah, what's the story here, Ashton?
So I didn't watch this game. I did not know that stat line. But
what's the story with Golden Tate playing baseball now?
Yeah, so he played baseball at Notre Dame. He was actually drafted out of high school by the Diamondbacks, I believe, in one of the later rounds, 40 something. But yeah, he obviously did not go play for them. He went to Notre Dame, played baseball through his sophomore year, quit to play football. Obviously had a long NFL career, and then is now playing in I believe it's called the West Coast Baseball League. On Reedy, if you want to correct me, go ahead. But yeah, that came out yesterday. I didn't know it, and neither did Tyler Patrick. Like I sent it to our group chat, and nobody had any idea that was on the radar. So it's pretty cool. Obviously he's an elite athlete if he played football and baseball at Notre Dame, was drafted out of high school, played in the NFL for however many years, 10, 11, 12, something like that. But yeah, that's the story. Again, I did not watch this game. I did not know that stat line, but I knew it was happening. Sorry, I did not prepare to go in depth on that.
No.
I'm not going to make stuff up. Yes, and a couple of you are citing Carter Putz, the first baseman. He was awesome defensively. He's one of the best defensive players in the country, and the Notre Dame defense is a top 10 defense in the country statistically. They're all fantastic. But yeah, Putz had a really good season. Season and series. But Jack Brannigan, the third baseman, who was named a third-team All-American today, is also a defensive star. If you want to flip it on, I wanted to say tomorrow night, but Friday night, and watch some really good defense. We can wrap up with that last question here, if that works. A prediction. So this is hard because pool play is hard. Well, baseball in general is kind of hard to predict because it's a little more fluky than, say, football. I think Notre Dame has the ability to win this pool, but all the stars are going to have to align, similar to how Tennessee was. So a lot. Super chat for Link Jarrett's new contract with Indy.
Yes, appreciate that, Martin. It's a good one.
I don't get it.
Like he's just saying, like drop a bunch of super chats and that'll help out for Jarrett. Maybe that's what he meant. I don't know, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean he just signed a new contract. It's a pretty big contract, but like I don't know. I don't blame him. Like he's from Tallahassee and went to Florida State. That's like I don't know. But yes, my prediction, sorry. They can win this, but all of the stars are going to have to align. These three teams are really good, and they all have different strengths, which is you have to obviously approach a 3-game series differently than 3 games against 3 different teams because for obvious reasons. And all these teams have different strengths. So it's going to be like a full-blown recalibration after these games, which should be interesting. And we're going to Tyler and I are going to dive into that more on the site in the next couple of days. Tyler will be in Omaha and then I will be covering stuff too. So we will get more into that and more into like the actual game previews if you want to check that out on blueandgold.com. And with that, unless you guys have any other comments, we good here?
They just beat the number 1 team in probably the history of college baseball. I think they get out of the bracket. They go on to the finals. How's that? That's going to be my prediction. Link Jarrett. Yeah, Link Jarrett's going to take these guys as far as they can, right? And then go down to his alma mater. And Notre Dame's had 3 great baseball coaches, and the previous 2 went to Arizona State and LSU. And Murphy lost at ASU in the finals, but Maneri won a championship at LSU. So Notre Dame's had some hell of baseball teams, so it'll be stinks, that he goes. But how long has he been there? 3 years, right?
Yeah, 2020. Yeah. But I mean, obviously the 2020 season was severely shortened by COVID, but yes, he's been there since.
It took him to a regional final last year, so he's done a heck of a job.
Mike just popped up. Justin said Notre Dame's tied with Stanford according to Vegas, second to win it all. That sounds right. I've seen multiple things. There's obviously 8 teams. I've seen somewhere between 2 and 5, somewhere in the middle. The team that I've seen the most is Ole Miss to win, which is an interesting one, but we don't have to dive
real quick, Ashton.
Yes.
Ashton, since you follow Lane Kiffin's dog, is the dog going to Omaha? Have you found out yet? Because I know Lane was asking on Twitter.
I have not confirmed whether or not Juice Kiffin is going to Omaha. I think it's heavily dependent on whether or not he's allowed there, which makes sense. I mean, obviously he could go to Omaha, but like whether or not he can go to the games, I don't really know. That's a bad answer. I don't know the answer to your question. Anyways, with that,
what about my prediction? Do I get a prediction?
No, because you said you didn't want to comment on baseball.
Oh, I'm getting a prediction though.
All right,
Notre Dame is winning every single game, and the Braves are also going to go undefeated the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm a Braves fan. The Braves they're going to win out. You heard it here first. That's my expert analysis. That's a joke. No one come at me about that. Anyways, but they have won 13 straight games, and they are on right now. So I'm going to go watch them. Mike, is that your cat?
Yeah, okay. That was my cat.
Well, this show is just completely off the rails, and 2 of us aren't even drinking, which is hilarious.
One day closer. Hey, we're one day closer to Ohio State, so that's the only thing that matters at the end of this show.
All right, I'm signing us off now before we get on some other tangent or get some super chat or something. So peace, everybody.
All right, bye.